Welcome to 55 and 5, the only show on YouTube going through each card of the 1955 Parkhurst Wrestling trading card set, one card at a time. We are at 116 out of 122. The distress of doing this, Cary, has made me grow a mustache. Sort of, yeah. It's red, so it doesn't get me very thick, and I look like a pervert. But anyway, it's Ian Rickerbody, Cary Silkin, our producer AJ from Bisson Creative and Web Design. No perverts here, just professional wrestling talk. Cary, we're ending with 7 strong. We have 7 left. You know every single one of these 7. I have the safety net here. This should be a lot of fun. We're closing out strong. Today, though, we are closing out with a man that you know, but not the strongest picture. Probably the worst photo in the set.
Okay.
So we're going to take a look. I'm going to look at the timer. We got 5 minutes to keep the conversation light, happy, brief. Give you a 5-minute history lesson on the card. Cary, what can you tell me about the great Lord James Blears?
I know him more as an announcer.
Yes, correct.
And maybe an authority figure type.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But he wrestled for years.
Yeah.
Was he from Hawaii?
Okay. Keep going there.
Was he from Australia?
He's from the UK, but very associated with Hawaii.
Right. He did. There's a lot of. Somehow he landed in Hawaii and made a career of himself, as well as wrestling in Canada. And I want to say Detroit for some reason, or I might be wrong.
No.
But go ahead. I turn it over to you.
Yeah, great knowledge on Lord James Blears. The commentary came on a number of things, and it wasn't just wrestling. So he ended up being the booker and the commentator in Hawaii. But
that's a sweet gig,
right? Also, he became the world's premier surfing announcer.
Really?
So he was the world's premier television surfing commentator.
You probably didn't have a lot of competition.
Right. Oh, what's also interesting, he's in the movie, where is it here? He's in the movie Endless Summer.
Okay.
And his son was the 1972 world champion.
Really?
In surfing. So
I'm so old, I remember when Endless Summer came out.
Really?
And going to see it in the movie theater. It was a movie, a documentary about these 2 young men, surfers, looking for the perfect wave.
Wow.
Now, it didn't have to be the biggest wave, but the wave that broke, that they just keep going miles down the beach.
Wow.
And they found it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Lord James Blears is a cameo in that and is interviewed as a surfing announcer, which is pretty neat. He, like a lot of the wrestlers in the set, served in World War II. He was a world-renowned swimmer, was on the UK Olympic team in 1940, but England did not participate because of World War II. From there, he enlists. He's a merchant marine. He's in the Navy in the UK, and what he does is he's a specialist in Morse code.
Really?
So he becomes very proficient and effective in Morse code. He's you mentioned Australia. It's funny you mentioned that. He was in the Pacific Theater, and his ship was capsized by a Japanese submarine or Japanese ship. And as the ship went down, he was taken captive. He actually jumped off of the ship and just jumped into the ocean as he noticed some of his crewmates were being executed. So
these are men beyond my capabilities.
Right? I think of Lord James Blears as the AWA commentator,
right, as
the older guy that you're just like, oh, he's probably a wrestler, and it's probably the reason he's doing this. But no, he's a war hero. He's jumping, he gets captured, jumps out of a big ship, lands, a lifeboat comes and takes him and a couple of other guys with it in the Pacific. From there, he moves to Manhattan in 1946, once the war's over. He lives with Stu Hart and Sandar Kovacs.
That was it. That was it. Go ahead.
And they become friends. We starts tagging with Lord Al Layton, who we've talked about in a previous episode. do. They're a big tag team. They win in Chicago. They win the titles in WWE in Los Angeles. They win the titles in San Francisco against the Sharps and this team and that team. Teams a little bit with Nick Bockwinkel, one of his early tag team partners, and then lands in Hawaii. And couldn't ask for a better landing spot because the television commentator there, he was a friend of Ricky Dozen, and becomes a liaison through Giant Baba after that to bring international talent to All Japan. He's responsible for getting Don Leo Jonathan over to Japan for the first time, as well as the British Bulldogs much later, and then almost everybody in between.
What year did Blears live till?
2016.
Really?
Yeah, 1923 to 2016.
Good for him.
So that's quite a run. 93 years old.
I started this. You don't even know this is. That's all right. There's a Mad Dog Vachon book.
Oh.
And it's written by Pat Lepard.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it must have just came out.
Very cool.
And the reason I'm mentioning it is just within the first few chapters, and they're talking about his childhood, but within the first hour of the book, there's these names that come up, and they're like, "Oh, Fred Atkins."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wait a minute, that was the 55 guy," and Timothy George
Gordienko.
Right. So, yes, these names keep popping up. But yeah, Lord James Blears, tally ho.
Tally ho, indeed. And became a minor TV star. He was on a couple episodes of Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum P.I. Maybe because they taped in Hawaii, maybe because he was notable. But yeah, he did those shows, Hawaii Five-0 in 77, Magnum P.I. in 82 and 83, becomes the on-air commentator for the AWA, becomes sort of the commissioner type figure, isn't the Stanley Blackburn, but has some authority. And his most notable thing that people my age probably remember, he's the guy that screwed Hulk Hogan out of the title against Bockwinkel in 83 in the AWA. He was the referee, the special referee to keep things down the middle. He gets knocked out and there's a screwy finish. Everybody thinks Hogan wins the title, but as Bockwinkel leaves with it, it was Lord James Blears in the ring for that.
That's the man you call if you wanted to get the job done. Make it look like you want to get the job done at least.
Right. So
very cool.
Very cool. We didn't talk about this card though, Cary.
Oh yeah. I mean, how did the editors decide on this photo? Here's James Blears. Here's James Blears, who probably has hundreds of thousands of photos.
Yeah.
Even 60
then.
Years ago, 70 years ago.
Yeah, even then.
And they've picked this terrible picture. You can't see.
We believe it's the man who's kneeling down, whose face is obscured by the rope, but even if it's not, even if it's the other gentleman who you can't see either because his face is also down. This might be the worst. This is worse than Wild Bill Longson.
Right. This
has my vote for worst photo in the set. I have a set of pretty decent photos for considering the time. So we hail Lord James Blears. We do not hail the editor that selected that photo. And we hail you for joining us. Coming to you tomorrow,
117.
117, and then we have a repeat, Cary, but it's one of our more viewed episodes.
Okay.
So we're going to run it back. We're going to run it back with a great Canadian legend tomorrow right here on 55 and 5. So I want to thank AJ, our producer, thank Cary, and thank you for watching. I'm Ian Riccaboni. Happy wrestling, everybody.